Today we're going to be talking about some important information that you need to know in order to understand how to find and fix sentence boundary errors in your essay. A lot of this information comes from the Purdue OWL, which is a great grammar reference resource, so you might want to check that out. You can find it by clicking on the Links to Helpful Resources folder on our Blackboard page. Also on Blackboard, you'll find all of the resources you need to complete this assignment. When you log in, go ahead and click on Essay 1, and you'll see down at the bottom a folder called Essay 1 Grammar Videos. If you click on that, you'll see a link to our welcome video, which you're currently watching, our introductory video, our fragment video, and our run-on video. Before your final draft of Essay 1 is due, you'll need to watch all 4 of these videos and complete the accompanying activity, which is explained on your Essay 1 packet. Okay, so now that we know how to complete the assignment, let's look at some important terms that we need to know in order to understand how to find and fix these errors. The first term we're going to look at is an independent clause. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete thought. So in other words, an independent clause could be called a complete sentence because it can stand on its own. Here's an example. Jim studied for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks. We have our subject, Jim, we have our verb, studied, and this is a complete thought because it could stand alone as its own sentence. The next kind of clause we need to know about is a dependent clause. A dependent clause is also a group of words that contains a subject and a verb, but it does not express a complete thought. That means it cannot stand alone and cannot be its own sentence. Here's an example. When Jim studied for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks. You'll notice we have a subject, Jim. We have a verb, studied, but this does not express a complete thought because your reader's left wondering what happened when Jim studied for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks. Your reader needs more information in order for this to be a complete thought. One way to look for dependent clauses is to look for dependent marker words. Dependent marker words are the words that are added to the beginning of an independent clause that makes it into a dependent clause. And why is it a dependent clause? Because when you add those dependent marker words, your readers need more information in order to understand the sentence and for it to be a complete thought. So here's our same example. We have our subject, Jim, our verb, studied, but this is not a complete thought, and that's because of the word when. That word when makes your readers want to know what happened when he studied for his chemistry quiz. That word itself is what makes the sentence dependent because it causes the readers to need more information for it to be a complete thought. If we remove when, this now becomes an independent clause because we have a subject, Jim, we have a verb, studied, and now it is a complete thought because that dependent marker word has been removed. Here's a list of some of our common dependent marker words. If you see one of these words in your sentence, chances are you have a dependent clause. Okay, so what does all of this have to do with sentence boundary errors? Sentence boundary errors occur when we incorrectly connect or incorrectly separate independent and dependent clauses. That's why they're called sentence boundary errors. Sentence boundary errors mean you're having trouble drawing correct boundaries between your sentences, and you're either separating them or connecting them incorrectly. There are 2 kinds of sentence boundary errors. One occurs when we incorrectly separate our clauses, and one occurs when we incorrectly connect our clauses. Fragments are the ones that occur when we incorrectly separate our clauses. So fragments happen when we treat a dependent clause or other incomplete thought as a complete sentence. Here's an example. When Jim was studying for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks, period, he drank a latte. Now notice that all of the information is there. We know what happened when Jim was studying for his chemistry quiz. He drank a latte. The problem is that we've incorrectly separated the clauses. Because this clause here depends on this clause here for its meaning, they need to be connected. So because we incorrectly separated them, we created a fragment. The other sentence boundary error, a run-on, occurs when you incorrectly connect your clauses. So a run-on sentence occurs when you have two complete sentences, or two independent clauses, connected together without the correct punctuation. There's two kinds of run-ons. The first is a fused sentence. Here's an example. Jim studied for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks. He drank a latte. As you can see, there's two independent clauses in this sentence. Jim studied for his chemistry quiz at Starbucks, and he drank a latte. Both of these have subjects, both of these have verbs, and both of these are complete thoughts that could stand on their own. The problem is that we incorrectly connected them here without any punctuation or any connecting words. So that means that the sentences are fused together, and that makes them a run-on. One specific kind of run-on is called a comma splice. A comma splice occurs when you also have two independent clauses, like we do here, the same two as before. This time, we've incorrectly spliced them with a comma. The word splice means to connect. So here we've incorrectly connected our two sentences with just a comma, and that creates a run-on. So now that you know what an independent and dependent clause are, and you understand the kinds of errors that can occur, we're going to work on how to find and fix those errors in our essays. As we discussed earlier, you'll watch the videos in the Essay 1 Grammar Unit. In the folder on Blackboard, there's a fragment video and a run-on video, and you'll also want to take a minute to watch the introductory video to get an overview. On the day Essay 1 is due in class, we'll be working on editing our essays to make sure we are avoiding sentence boundary errors. So as you watch the videos, think of any questions that you have to ask me, and I'll help you in class. And we'll make sure that our papers contain as few sentence boundary errors as possible. Remember, though, that learning how to fix these errors is a process, and it takes a lot of time. So it's not something I expect you to master in Essay 1. We'll be working on this all semester to help you become stronger and clearer writers. I'll see you guys in class soon. Bye-bye.